we're back. So this one, thinking of this is something that we'd suggest. One of us suggested. I can't remember what. A while back, I was thinking get into. Um, I've got it listed as your resume, like updating your resume and keeping that up to date and things like that. But it's also like personal brand and things like that. Is it? I think it's getting into that. It's a little bit marketing ish, but it's also one of those that I think that's a great area for habits and things like that. Thoughts?
So you can, to me, that's kind of two things. So personal branding, resume, um, like how do you present yourself for? I guess that's the thing. Are you presenting yourself for hire, or are you presenting yourself to promote your consulting, your business, things of that nature? Because to me,
Those
that's
are the
two different things.
Oh no, that's one and the same to me. It's like your resume is who is your personal brand. It's who you are. It's what you bring to the table. Now, it may be that your resume is directly tied, like for example, in your case, and sometimes in my case, that our resume is very much tied to our business or side, getting consulting work, but it's the same thing. It's like it may not be, it may not be as much a physical resume or like I said, a physical digital resume, but more along the lines of this is who I am and this is what I bring to the table. So it could be the brand is your resume. It is like this is what people expect. It's making sure that it's not just, resume is like here's what I've done, but a lot of it too, if it's done right, is like this is what I bring to the table. This is how I'm going to address, this is how I'm going to problem solve, or this is how what I'm going to do to help you if you hire me as an employee or consultant or whatever it happens to be.
Okay, so it's kind of along the lines of s- explaining to others what you can bring to the table.
Yeah, in the great, I mean, in the lay sense, I guess. Yeah, that's sort of like that's your to me. That's what your brand is. It's like what do you expect? What are you getting when you get me?
Yeah, because one of the biggest problems I have, especially explaining Envision QA to non-technical people, is what is it that I do? What do I bring to the table? And one of my friends, has actually asks me almost all the time, "What is it that you do?" And it changes from week to week because there's so many different problems we solve that he still really doesn't understand software development. He doesn't understand what it is that I do.
Well, and I think that's why I look at it as a resume. Is I think it helps us, and I tell this to the guys that are the junior guys I work with all the time when I talk to them about updating a resume. Is it's like keep up with what you like. It's very useful, and this goes with like a work log or a blog or things like that. It's like it's very useful to talk about the stories that you have been involved in, the problems that you've solved, and what that, for lack of a better term, what that journey was like. And so as we go through, that is our resume. It's things like I worked at McDonald's and while I was at McDonald's, people had a problem that they were hungry and I had the problem that they needed to pay the company for us to feed them. And so I worked at a, cash register. Now that's a lot more wordy way than just saying I was a cash register. I worked at McDonald's for $5 an hour or whatever it happened to be. But that's what we need to do is we need to actually build those stories into our resume. And I think when we do that, that builds our effectively our elevator pitch resume as well, because then we sort of cherry pick those things or look at them at a whole and say, what is it that I really do? What is it that I bring to the table? What is this? I've got these 18 projects that I did. What is the commonality across those? Or maybe even the trend? What is the trajectory that I have as I grew from these little projects that have gone through it? What is it I do? Where am I going? Kind of stuff.
Okay, that makes more sense then. It just, yeah, it to me when I hear that, I can't. My mind goes a couple different ways. That's why I wanted to kind of narrow down where we were going to take this.
And my mind also sometimes does. So we'll see how this goes. It's going to be one of those where it's like I start off in one direction and I had a great plan, and then I end up like, left turn and I'm in Albuquerque or something like that. So we'll give it a shot and we'll see how this goes. Because I think it is another one. There's a couple of levels of this. So it could be something we come back to it more specifically. So we'll give it, oh yeah, I'll give you a little three. Well, hello and welcome back. We are continuing our season of building better habits. We are building better developers, the Developreneur podcast. I am Rob Broadhead, one of the founders of Developreneur and also founder of RB Consulting, where we do, I think they call it, it's referred to as like boutique consulting. Basically, what we do, we sit down with you, assuming you own a business or are running a business or a department, sit down with you, understand where you're at, what are your needs, what is your current situation, what technology do you have? Do you have a whole bunch of crap, or do you have like one thing and you're trying to figure out how to use it? Are you trying to figure out new things that are out there? All of that comes together, and we use simplification, automation, integration, and even sometimes we'll do things like RFPs and walk you through that process to find a way to get you right sized into the technology, or the technology right sized into what can serve you best based on your budget, your resources, your market, all of that good stuff, so that you get a suit that fits you instead of something you just grabbed off the rack at Walmart. No offense to Walmart and Sam's and all those people. Good thing, bad things. Let's see. Good thing. I'll go with bad things first, just because yesterday was a good day, bad day kind of thing. It's my bad day was I was in meetings just back to back to back to back to back. It was just, and people were putting stuff on my calendar. Like it was a Friday, and they were putting stuff on my calendar for late in the afternoon. And the funny thing is they were in a different time zone, so it was even later for them. These are like late meetings, and they're being put on, like, they get on the calendar on a Friday at lunchtime. What's sort of good, a side good, is that people showed up, because a lot of times you do that, crickets. You're going to have nobody show up for your meeting. So it was an exhausting day of meetings where I didn't have a lot of breaks or stuff like that. The good thing is, once I got to the end of the day, I got to have one of those little things. We went to this charity auction thing, and I don't want to get too far into it, but it's basically, short of it, you can look them up, Trinity Hope. They work with Haiti, and they build schools there and stuff like that. So it's one of those, it's like a good bad in itself, because it's very sad that people have to go through their lives or what they are, but it's also good that we can very easily, one of those, for 5 cents a day, you can help a child eat, things like, for very little on our part, we can help people out. The really good thing about it is just having time to, like, not think about work and not think about our life, and think about some other people for a while, and do a little bit of, socializing and things like that. Just allows you to just literally to unplug. And so it was a good way to end a long day, and actually a long week. On the challenges, one of the things that we talked about was taking some breaks and making sure that you don't get like two heads down. Now, granted, Michael mentioned in a prior one that the Pomodoros help that a lot, because they pretty much force you to at least stop. And a lot of times it's when you're done with that, whether it's 25 or 40 or whatever minutes it is, when you do that break, at least for me, the first habit is to like just, turn off the little alarm and then stand up or do something. That, like, regular breaks during the day, I've also split up. So in the middle of my day, instead of staying at my desk basically doing a working lunch day after day after day, as I'll take 10 minutes basically and go, when I'm in an office, I'll go like walk around the building, so just go outside and get some fresh air. If I'm at home, I'll go like walk out on the back deck or something like that, and just, again, get some fresh air, even whether it's cold or hot or whatever, just like a little change of pace. So it's a great habit that is helping me just stay sane in many ways, forms, and fashions. The to-do list one, I've grown this one again, just like I did the Pomodoros. I went from 1 to 2 and haven't gone to 3 yet. We'll see how that goes. But the list thing is, I've really like refined my list making in the last couple of weeks as I went to the dailies, but now I have much more focused, which is, it's actually sort of a return to my roots, as I've gone back to being much more focused when I put together my week. That I have, for those of you, a lot of you, I think you would relate very much to like the effect of me creating a bunch of Jira tickets that I'm going to go through this week. Now, this is where you can also do with Trello or something like that. It's where I have literally a list of items, like, these are the things that I want to go through. I'd sort of gotten away from that because I just had too much stuff and too much change. But I've gone back to having that core list of like, here's some things I want to accomplish. And it really does help, particularly as I get into the second half of a week of like, oh crud, I like really need to go back and touch this thing or make some progress on that thing. Just like I needed to make some progress letting Michael talk a little bit and introduce himself. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the crowd there, Mike.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Meloche. I'm one of the co-founders of Developreneur, building better building better developers, need to learn how to speak. I'm also the founder of Envision QA, where we help small to mid-sized businesses elevate their software. We do software audits, but essentially we help companies unlock their software's potential, either be it through comprehensive software assessments, quality assurance testing, uh, reviewing software stacks, or even helping you find the right software for your business or build something custom if we can't find something out there for you. Good and bad for the week. I'll start with the bad. Uh, Similar to Rob, had some things added to my schedule. The problem was with these meetings, I had to actually drive to them. So there was actually some downtime where I couldn't get other work done because I had to drive a vehicle. Downside to that, I was not able to batch any of that. So I actually lost some time and had to work later in the days because I lost time driving around. Typically, on a good day, I flip that around. I did have a couple good days where I was able to batch a lot of things together, so I did not lose time. I was able to use the Pomodoro technique and my task list to ensure that I had things lined up to where I was able to stay focused on one particular thing and do it in chunks to where I actually got most of it done in a timely manner. I didn't have a lot of overrun. So to kind of reset that kind of off week with the drive time, I followed our our task, our goals to kind of stay on track, get things back where they need to be, and move the dial a little bit further down the road.
Bad thing is I can't figure out how to unmute my mic, but now I did. So this episode, this is sort of one of those that could actually get very, very big. But I really want to talk. It's really about your resume or your personal brand, and in particular, I think I want to focus in on the keeping it up to date kind of challenge that we have, because if you look back, like right now, look back at just take a second and look back at what have you done in the last year. Now, what you probably first come up with is things that you've done in the last week or the last quarter, maybe. If you go back and look at your calendar from this month a year ago and what you were doing, what are some of the challenge, what were some of the meetings that you were in, or maybe you got if you're a blog, what were you blogging on, or if you've got status reports, what were your status reports like? Looking at those, you're probably going to be like, oh wow, I'd forgotten I'd done that, or wow, that was a whole year ago, or that was only a year ago, things like that can be they get lost, basically get lost on the shuffle. Now, when we get to a point where we're frustrated where we work, or we get laid off, or we're trying to launch a new business and do some side hustle and get a new customer, we get into a mode then of oh, I've got to update my resume, whatever my resume looks like. I need to go, whether it's my resume, whether it's my site, whatever it is, I need to go and make sure that what I'm presenting is where I currently am, because with the building better developers, that means that you are a better developer today than you were a year ago or 2 years ago, or however long it was that you last got into this searching for work, selling myself mode that we have to do from time to time. So one of the things that I think can help you is, one, weekly status or daily status of some sort, particularly weekly status. And a lot of people, I've talked about people in the past that do journals and things like that just for themselves. And it could be as simple and actually as useful as a blog that you get to the end of the week and you can nobody else has to read it. But I think you would find there would be readers that if you just say, hey, this week, this is what I worked on, and just give a little brief thing of you while you're still near enough to it, to just give if somebody says, hey, what was this like? What was that experience like this week? Give just a brief paragraph of what that was like. It's oh, you worked on solving this problem. What was that like? Well, this is what the problem was. I had this thing that I was asked to do. And so I wrote some code that did this. And I found out in doing that it was really easy to loop through all this data and then just sum some stuff up and I got the solution. Or I thought it was going to be very easy, but then I found out that I needed to bring in these 3 other pieces of data or something just really simple. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go nuts with it. The thing is that if you do that, even weekly basis, at the end of the year, you've got a book worth of content probably, which could be a pain because you're like, well, I'm not going to put all that in a resume. I don't need a resume that's 48 pages long, or I don't need a website that has that much stuff. But maybe you do. From a website point of view, in particular, if you're a consultant or if your company is consulting, or actually if you want to have which is I think something that a lot of people are starting to go to that's got a lot of value, is an online resume of some sort, which could also be something we'd like called LinkedIn or one of those kinds of places where you have this work history. You have the real estate to be able to actually go fairly deep into some of those things. And so I think it's very valuable to take those, particularly like a blog is great because you can just say, hey, I am Rob the developer. And if you would like to get a sense of what some of the things I do are, here's my blog. And you can title them by days, you can do whatever you want. So it's very easy for somebody to actually literally look at a detailed resume of what you do. Now, are they going to do it? Probably not. But if you highlight it, or if you go back, like say once a quarter, or even once, every 6 months, twice a year, go back, take what you did, look at that and summarize it and turn that, maybe, pages and pages of information, turn it into like a little, half a page paragraph, or, a half page, couple paragraphs or something like that. Something that is very easy for somebody to look at and very quickly read, particularly if you have a couple, like a title and maybe like what was the problem? How did I solve it? Doing those in a sentence each, something like that, and then have a little more detail. That kind of stuff is invaluable. And it allows you, when you get into a point, for example, let's say you're working at the same company for 20 years and you get laid off, and now you have to build a resume. That is an almost insurmountable task if you have to go back 20 years and try to build that thing all the way up. But if you've been doing this along the way, it's going to allow you to have a resume that you could put together fairly quickly. More importantly, because I think a lot of us, when we talk about personal brand and resume, we think about I'm leaving a job or getting a new job. If you do this, it's going to help you when you have a review. When you get to the end of the year or the end of your review period, it's going to help you say, this is what I did, and help you properly argue for if you need a raise. Now, if you look at what you did and all you do is like, I learned how to play games better or something like that, okay, you don't deserve a raise. But if you said, hey, I learned this new language, I solved this problem, I did this major thing for the company, those are the things that you want to be able to highlight so that they say, wow, you bring a lot of value to the table. We want to give you more money, which I think lots of people like to hear that kind of a review. But it really helps us keep really like a sanity check on ourselves, but also a reality check that's like, yes, we are doing stuff, we're making progress, and it helps us do better as far as like, get that raise, argue for a promotion or something like that. But also I think on the flip side of that is when we get into tough times, when we're in like a death march or something like that, we can at least look back and say, yes, we have made progress. Yes, things are moving forward. So we don't feel like we're just constantly running into a brick wall. Just like now, I think I've hit my brick wall. So I'm going to like break through and let Michael talk on the other side of this.
Thanks, Rob. So not to get too far out of the box, because we could take this many different directions. One of the biggest challenges you will have over the years is, like Rob said, if you've been working for a company for 20 years, you've got a lot of information you need to unpack and put onto your resume or update your blog or your website, wherever you promote yourself. The trick comes in those early years too, where you only have one or two jobs, or you just have college. What did you do in college? How do you beef up that resume to show the skills that you have? If you're just out of college, listing the classes you took isn't necessarily the best way to promote yourself. What you might want to do is you might want to go through what were some of the big projects I worked on? What are some of the accomplishments I did in my classes? Did you write like a Linux system? Did you write an operating system? Did you build some websites, write some programs? You can highlight those projects and build that out. If you kind of take that mindset as we go through our career, any little project you work on or challenge you have, that is a good little point to, hey, write it down, put it aside, or put it into your list of things that you have done. And when you come around to building your resume or building that online information about yourself to sell yourself, you can then kind of go cherry pick this information to kind of put on your resume or put on these forums to kind of promote what it is that you're looking for. One of the challenges I have, especially since I've been in the tech now for well over 20 some years, is what do I put on my resume? If I'm looking to apply for a job, if it's a management job, if it's a software engineering job, what is it that they are really looking for that I am the person that they need to hire? The problem I have is, I've got over 6 pages of notes I've taken over the years for the different types of jobs, different things I've done. And so you really don't want to hand them a 6 page resume. They're not going to read it. They're only going to read the first page. And even then, you're lucky if they read that. They might even read just the first job and then call it done. So what you need to do is you need to highlight what it is that they're looking for that you can bring to the table. What is it that you bring that you are the right person for the job? It could be for a job. It could be for a consulting business. It could be for whatever. Why is it that they want you? Kind of like the old Uncle Sam thing. Uncle Sam wants you for the military. If you flip that, what is it that you bring to the table? And then what you need to do is you need to highlight that at the front. Now, I find it interesting that cover letters are coming back these days with a lot of job resumes, where in the past I've noticed that those kind of faded out over the years, but they're coming back because so many people can go on these online tools and apply for jobs. So they want to know why it is that you want to work for a company. So if you're looking for like an AI firm, oh, hey, we are looking for AI developers. Why is it that you want that job? Why is it that you want to build AI tools? So you kind of take what you have, summarize it in a paragraph or two as to what it is that you've done, why you are a good fit for the company or for this particular job, and then provide your resume. But make sure you highlight the skills, the tools that you have used that apply to the situation that you're looking at, that you're applying for. Now, if you're trying to be generic by building blogs, your blogs are going to kind of be your tags. So you're going to tag your blogs in such a way that on your main page, when you come in, it's like, here are the things I've done, click this tag, and here's going to be the articles related to what you've done. LinkedIn is a little bit harder because you can still write blogs, but they don't have a great sorting way of like highlighting, oh, this is for this skill or this skill. They do have a good way of listing out your job details and things of that nature. But even then, it's hard to find what you're looking for if you're an employer going to these sites looking for people. You need to stand out. So how are you going to stand out? So other things you want to do is not just rely on the tools, but stand up your own site. Like Rob said, write some blogs, do an online resume. One of the fun things is we've been doing Developreneur for so long, I can almost point to any given blog or article I've written and say, hey, I've done this, or hey, I can do this, or we've talked about this. If you don't have that, start making a list today and start recording yourself. Just do something, write it down, record it, and then just stick it out there. Put yourself out there so that you can start building that virtual resume, and people may just run across you and say, hey, you look like a person that I might need for this particular job. So you may not even be looking, but they may find you. So these are some of the cool things you can get out of this that might not simply be what you're looking for from the get-go, but there's a lot of pros that come from doing things like this.
I think I want to sort of follow up from that last point. I have over the years had more than a couple of times where I have ended up in a job or had a customer that came out of a discussion from a blog article or something like that, where there was something that I put out there that they were searching, or they asked, like Michael says, like there'll be something in the job description that I'll just point, like maybe as my cover letter, say, oh, by the way, I just covered this topic, last month in a blog article or on a mentoring class or something that we did, some presentation or something like that. Now, you may say that's great if you've got, 500 blog articles and hundreds of of video podcasts or podcast stuff that you've done, or 800 episodes of a podcast. But you know what? There was a point when I had zip, zero, nada. I had none of that. And I started somewhere along the way. And the next thing you know, I had one. And so when I had one, I hope that what they want is exactly what that one topic was. But then I had two, and then I had three. And over time, what you're going to find, more importantly than being able to like check off the boxes to, when you submit a resume or when you apply for a job, when you write a proposal up for a job, more importantly, that you have the check boxes when they say, have they done this language? Have they solved this problem? Blah, blah, blah. What you have is a way to connect to their problem. What you have is a way to start a conversation. What you have is a way for them to relate back to you. And more importantly to all of this is for them to see what you do, how you do it, how often you do it, get a feel for, even if you don't know it, they can get a feel for what are your strengths, what are the things that you enjoy doing. And that makes it so much more likely that you're going to end up in a job that you actually like, that it's actually something where you go to work, you're like, this is what I was born to do. Because now you're getting what everybody really should be looking for, is the resume matching the job, your position, your skills, your experience, your personality, the culture that you want to work in matches the job that you're in. Whether that's as a contractor or consultant, whether it's an employee, whatever it is making sure that your skills match their needs. Because honestly, if your skills don't match their needs, then probably, particularly if it's a full-time job, it's the thing that's taking up most of your time, you need to move on, because you want to find something where you do fit more comfortably. It's just like a pair of clothes. If you've got shoes that are comfortable, you can walk all day. If you've got shoes that are not that comfortable, you can walk for an hour and you're going to feel like you're crippled. Now, maybe I'm old and so I'm over dramatizing that, but that has happened to me. So just watch out, get shoes that are comfortable. That being said, let's talk about the challenge for this one, because it really does come from, as Michael said, when you've got pages and pages and pages of stuff, and then you're trying to sort back through it, or you've got like, years of calendar entries or status reports you're trying to figure out, it's very difficult to do. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is start with, every day, take 5 minutes maybe. You don't have to take very long. Just write a little synopsis of what I did today. Do that for 7 days. And then the bonus, basically at the end of the week, because we don't work we work usually 5 days a week. On the 6th or the 7th day, or both of them, write a summary of the week. Same thing. Like you may now have, 4 or 5 paragraphs of stuff from the week. Summarize that down to 1 paragraph. Make it like, if somebody said, what was cool that you did this week? What is it that, like, I'm going to buy you a drink, if you're old enough to buy a drink, or I guess a soda or whatever it is, if you can convince me that you did work worthy of it this week, write that sentence, write that paragraph. Just do that once a week. Do that for a while, and then further down the road it'll be things like, then take those and then combine those and turn those into something that's very digestible, like a paragraph. Because if we do it while we're still in it, while it's still fresh, it is so much more valuable. We're gonna get the key points, and actually it's going to be very tough as we get further along, because we're like, wow, there's this key thing and that key thing and that key thing, and I really want to bring all those together. And either you're going to find a way to abstract them, or you're going to say, I need a blog page and I need to just like throw this stuff out and have like, here's what I did, but here's the details that you really want to read because they're valuable. Just like if you send us an email, we're going to really want to read it because it is very valuable, because this is why we're here, is to share with you and to get feedback and to figure out what is it that we can do to make you better. Where are the things that you feel that you can improve, that you can, some habits that you can build, some things that you realize these are things that are like dogging me and slowing me down or impacting my ability to progress on my career roadmap, or things like that. We want to help you out. And if we can't, we want to throw that out to the greater community and see if the community can help you out, because we may not have those tools, but we may be able to find somebody that can, so we can bring all that stuff back to you. You can do it via email, info@developreneur.com. You can contact us on the developreneur.com site. We've got contact form there. We've got comment areas everywhere on all of our blog articles. Likewise, on YouTube, on the Developreneur channel. Also, anywhere that you get podcasts, you can leave us feedback there. We love it. However, we get it, we consume that, we use that to build a better podcast as we move forward. That being said, it is time for us to build a better day and go out there. You do the same. Go out there and have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time. Bonus material.
So we've given you guys a lot of information to unpack, especially making lists, keeping track of the things that you're doing, or even compiling, online blogs, things of that nature. The other thing we've talked about in the past that we didn't really touch on today is also make sure that you've got those GitHub repositories or Bitbucket repositories, and that you start building a code repository of the things that you have done. Not only is that good for you for referencing, but it's also good to present the work that you have done or the work that you can do based on the skills or the things that you have done. The other thing is, if you have a long laundry list of skills like I do, AI is a great tool. If you're looking to apply for a specific job, take your resume, or take your job history and your skills, plop that into AI and say, hey, summarize this based on this job role. It may not be perfect, but it could give you an idea of how to kind of squish that down and get into a bite-sized chunk that your employer or potential customer would understand and be able to consume based on their needs.
That wow, that is gold right there. You can take a huge amount of information and shove it into like any AI engine basically, and have it summarize it. And it is amazing the insights that you can get from how it's going to summarize that. Because sometimes you're going to be like, that is not at all what I thought I was giving you. In which case, change the wording. Is you need to make some adjustments. You need to do some stuff to say, well, okay, this is the story that I want to tell. And you realize that maybe your experience, the way you labeled it, doesn't actually point out that experience, doesn't tell the story that you want it to. So that is very valuable. The bonus, the thing that I want to focus on is, yes, we're technologists, and it comes down to like, which arrows do you have in your quiver? What language have you used? What environment you're involved with? Blah, 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 blah. But the reason I think that cover letters are so valuable, the reasons that I think that it is more about, other than that checklist of the technologies that we've done, it is the problems we've solved and the story about that. And that is where like technology tests and skill tests and stuff like that really, in a lot of cases, if they're done right, that's what they're trying to get. It's not, can you solve this problem in Java? It is, if you have this problem, how are you going to approach solving it? Ideally, it would be an unsolvable problem, basically. It's something there really is no solution to, but it's just trying to figure out, do you have the ability to see a problem and then craft a solution, even if you craft a solution and realize it's not going to work, and then have to craft another solution and another solution and another solution, because that's probably what they want, is like, how fast can you get from a problem to I'm working on solving it. And then if that doesn't work, how do I make it fit the problem, particularly if the problem starts to change or something like that, which we do see. So think about it more as telling a story as opposed to, I did this. So it's like, instead of, and this is one of those things I think is we get, so here's a bonus for the overall. Instead of, as you're building a better developer in yourself, instead of being, I was a Java developer, and now I'm a Java and C# developer, and now I'm a Java and a C# and a Ruby and a Python and a database developer. Flip it from the technology. So instead of, I can hit a hammer really well and I can drive nails, change that to, I can build a house. I can repair a wall or something like that. This is, and obviously that's different. I changed, analogies there a little bit, but from the coding point, it's like, what are problems you can solve? So it's things like, I can build a website for a business to do e-commerce. I can build a website that allows somebody to display their product library online. I can take a pool of data and help somebody turn that into trend analysis or things like that. I can help them to figure out where there are gaps, how they can improve their processes. There's all these things are all valid potential solutions and stories that we have. So find out your story and find the best way to tell that. My story, and I'm sticking with it, is that we are out of time. And so we're going to wrap this one up. As always, feedback is very much welcome. I want to thank you once again. You guys are all guys and gals and whatever you want to call yourselves. You, the community, are incredibly appreciated. We love you guys hanging out there, listening to us. We know, recognize, and respect the time, the offering that you give us of your time to listen to us, to watch us, to do these things. And so thank you again for what you contributed to us. Along those lines, be looking forward to, we've got some holiday specials coming up very soon, Thanksgiving and Christmas in particular, and the New Year's. We're going to have a couple little side trips off of this, but those are always fun for us to do, and hopefully it'll be very informative as well for you guys to get something a little different from this journey that we're on and all of these challenges. As always, go out there, have yourself a great day, a good time. We will talk to you next time around.